Hello and welcome to Somewhere in Waldo County. Well, I am in what is called Plant Lab and I'm with Matthew Kenney. And Matthew, I have heard so much about you and I think there's a certain amount of misinformation that I have, so I was hoping you could set me straight. I understand that you are a very famous chef, but you specialize, or not but, and you specialize in raw food. How close am I in this?
Relatively close. It's, we do a lot to the food, but we actually keep our temperatures below 118 degrees.
Oh, okay.
Which technically preserves enzymes and nutrients, so it's referred to as raw food because the food is still in its natural state.
So now, how is it that you happen to, of all places, be based in Belfast? And we're in, for those who may not recognize the interior, this building was once the place where I guess there were a number of restaurants, but I remember it as the Logos building in Belfast. So how is it that you happen to be here?
Well, I work a lot in California. We have a restaurant in Los Angeles and one in Chicago and opening in Miami. But I spend a lot of time in Maine and I like to do my creative work away from the hubbub of the day-to-day operation. And Maine is a great place to think and experiment and explore.
Sure, I can see that. So when I came here for the first time, it was because there was a film crew or a video production company, and they were filming a bunch of videos, and they said it was for a culinary academy. So tell me about that.
Well, we have culinary schools on site in Oklahoma City, in Los Angeles, and soon in Miami. And our new venture, which launches January 7th, is an online academy, and it will be worldwide. Our first group of students is from, I think, about 12 countries: Korea, Singapore, Tokyo, Australia.
Oh, wow, that's great.
It's the first, we believe, the first classically structured online school, which will not really just require students to memorize things, but actually be very interactive. There will be an online forum, and students will upload their work and be, judged and critiqued and commented on by other students. But it's also very visually driven. So we actually hired a documentary filmmaker who produced all the videos for us and the audio content. And so we were here for about 12 days doing the filming and taping for that.
Well, that's very exciting. So if I can step back a little bit, tell me how it is that you found this particular passion and what made you, go on to do great things in that field.
Well, I grew up being very much into nature and in Maine, being into hunting and being outside all the time.
So you are from Maine originally?
From when I was 2 years old, I lived here.
All right.
And, just loved nature and health and fitness as well. And when I moved to New York City right after college, I discovered I also loved restaurants and the culinary arts and the social environment of restaurants. And for many years, I was a traditional chef, focusing on Mediterranean cuisine. But after a number of years of listening to my own sort of vision and passion and my body as well, I realized that I really wanted to work with a healthier cuisine. And so I brought together my culinary training with my personal passion for health and nutrition, and was introduced in that time zone to raw food, which is really an ultimate form of nutrition, but applied culinary technique to it to make the food beautiful and innovative and acceptable by a broader audience. So I just used my professional training with my personal passions, and that's how I ended up there.
Well, when I think about my own consumption of raw food, I think of the fact that I do enjoy sushi, and that's, I guess, raw. I think of guacamole. I love making guacamole, and of course, there's always the ubiquitous vegetable dip, that at parties, the coups d'etats or whatever. But expand my mind a little. Tell me a little bit about what are some of your favorite raw meals, and I guess it's not just appetizers. It's from appetizers through to the desserts, right?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's all plant-based, so it's all vegan.
Oh, okay.
Only fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and sprouted grains, which doesn't sound very exciting, but it's actually a really beautiful cuisine when properly prepared. So, for example, one of my favorite recipes is kimchi dumpling with a sesame foam. The dumpling is this bright emerald green wrapper made from young Thai coconut and spinach, very, very thin, almost like a wonton wrapper, and it's got this kimchi, cashew, chili, and scallion filling, and then this kind of airy sauce, and it's just beautiful and stunning, totally raw, and people look at it would never ever guess that. You know, and also the desserts are just really incredible. We kind of reverse engineer a lot of things, so we'll do a baklava, for example, but make our pastry out of macadamia nut and a little bit of you know, could be macadamia nut, a little bit of cacao butter or coconut butter. And the filling, you know, it's just using dehydration and smoking and fermentation and thermal immersion and all sorts of other techniques to preserve the natural, you know, the natural nutrition of this food.
So you mentioned a lot of what sounds to me relatively exotic ingredients. Do you have people, and you also mentioned that you like to come up here and kind of figure these things out. Well, I'm suspecting that you can't find some of those ingredients at our local Hannaford. How do you figure out and gather some of the exotic ingredients that you use to prepare your, what sounds, as you describe it, very delicious?
Well, when people ask how we do the food we do, the first thing I say is source great products, and then, you know, use innovative technique and sort of methods, and third, dream, you know, use creativity and just innovate. So we always start with the products, and that's one of the reasons I like to spend a lot of time here in Belfast, because even though it's not full season, we have a lot of growers locally. There are some four-season growers. We have a great co-op and Chase's Daily and really good farmers market. So the core of what we use are really, you know, it's fresh seasonal produce. That's 70 or 80% of what we use. Then the rest are superfoods, nuts and seeds and coconuts. And we, believe it or not, can get pretty much everything we need here in Belfast.
That's great. Well, it is kind of nice that compared to, let's say, 20 years ago, if you'd go to Hannaford, you couldn't find some of the various somewhat exotic things. And of course, you've also got the co-op, which has some of the things you might not find. So a typical experiment, do you have like a lot of unsuccesses before you find something, you know, like you mentioned that sesame foam. Was that like an invention of yours, or is that, because it sounds like something I haven't heard of?
Well, now that we have a school, we've really broken down technique to understand it. You know, we know what type of fat content is needed in a nut or a seed to produce a foam in a liquid form. So, you know, and a few years ago, I had many failures when I tried to prepare raw food. I mean, it's very difficult to make food without grill, without fryer, without an oven or a stove, and make it, you know, beautiful and delicious. But we've been doing this for 8 or 9 years. We have, you know, a lot of talented people on our team that now have really kind of standardized certain methods. So the failures are less now than they used to be.
So you say a team and several people. Do you have, how many people like work for you?
My company's about 90.
Wow.
We are, yeah, quite a few in California, and it will be over 100 when Miami opens. But we have a pretty good, you know, just our academy team alone is 20 people, between the academy director and admissions and instructors, and then of course our executive chefs and people in all different departments. It's a pretty big company. So here we are in Belfast. I'm not going to, well, yeah, I'll put you on the spot slightly. But do you like to occasionally go out to eat? I do. I love to.
Are there any places that you like to eat around here? And by here, I mean, I'll go, say, all the way from Owl's Head up to Bangor.
Well, I travel most of my life, so when I'm in Belfast, I like to stay in Belfast.
Yeah, all right.
In the summer, I might go to Camden or Rockland, but mostly I'm around here, and I go to Chase's Daily and Lost Kitchen on a regular basis.
Oh, okay. Well, those have a fairly good local reputation here. So would I ever have an opportunity, like, you're not going to open up a restaurant in Belfast, are you?
I don't think so.
Oh, well. Nice try, anyway. But I guess you need probably a bigger population base, huh? Well,
this is a great space for it. If we did do a restaurant here, it would not be strictly raw vegan. We would use our cooking techniques, low temperature, low impact type of machines and techniques to prepare food, but it probably would use local ingredients, some seafood and so forth. And we may, but At the moment, we're opening restaurants in 3 restaurants elsewhere. So
right, keeps you busy.
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned you have a bunch of tools around here. And some of them look fairly fancy here, like the sous vide polyscience. What's that?
That's sous vide means under pressure.
Oh,
and
so it's a pressure cooker?
No, it's basically a immersion circulator. You vacuum seal your ingredients, like for example, portobello mushrooms marinated
Yes.
with olive oil and rosemary. You vacuum seal it, get all the air out, and then you put them in a water bath, and the immersion machine will actually keep the temperature stable, and it will also keep it even throughout because it's circulating. So we can do a portobello mushroom at 120 degrees Fahrenheit or 118 and keep it raw, keep it in its natural state and the enzymes alive and the nutrients alive, but tenderize it because of that, the pressure of being sealed and underwater. And then we have a dehydrator, which allows us to remove moisture from things to make crackers and cookies and doughs and crusts. All sorts of different juicers and food processors. And to your other side, we have a Paco Jet. That's a Swiss ice cream machine that that aerates and purees at the same time. All the way on the end over there, we have a what's called an ultrasonic homogenizer, and it's an emulsifier. And we have in the drawers all sorts of little toys, smokers, and
it must be fun going to cooking to a shop to find these, what you don't find at your local Walmart kitchen area. I mean, these are unusual preparation devices, aren't they?
They are. We have to look all over the world. Yes, the ultrasonic homogenizer. There are probably only, I don't know, 15 of them out there. I don't know anybody who has one.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I mean, I know what homogenized milk is, and I know what ultrasonic, because I've had an ultrasonic dehumidifier before, but an ultrasonic homogenizer, now that sounds kind of unusual. What do you use that for? What do you make with that?
Well, it uses ultrasound, no heat, no blending, no impact, to emulsify, to bring together the components in typically liquids. So for example, if you were to put a cup of coffee in there with milk, your regular coffee and milk, if you look with a microscope, you can still see particles. But the homogenizer through this ultrasound will fully emulsify it into it changes texture, it changes color, it changes taste, and it improves taste because it will really bring two things together in a way that just typical mixing won't.
You know, I'm reminded of my science teacher in 8th grade who used to use a Bunsen burner to make her coffee every morning. It must be fun for you to take something like your ultrasonic emulsifier to make yourself a cup of coffee, which is out of sight, huh? It
would, yeah. Well, I have done it, but yes, I wish I did it more.
Yeah. Well, Matthew, it's a real thrill to have someone with your credentials or fame here in Belfast, and I am thrilled to be able to talk to you, and I look forward to the day that when perhaps you might be offering classes in a place like here. Yeah, we may do just a couple of free events this summer just to share what we've learned about raw cuisine. So I'll keep you posted on that. All right. Thank you very much, Matthew Kenney.